It was a day of deep disappointment for Indian cricket fans today. India has dominated the T20 format since its inception. In recent years, the men's cricket team has won and dominated on every continent. But when it comes to ICC tournaments, India seems to disappoint. We'll give India credit for their performance in the Super 12s. They won 4 out of 5 matches, but today's match against England begs the question, are India the new chokers in ICC tournaments? What really went wrong with India's performance against England today, where they seem to have been completely decimated? Or are we, as Indian fans, just being too harsh? What next for the Indian cricket men's team? To speak on this, I'm joined now by those who really know the game and have tracked it very, very carefully over the many decades. Partab Ramchand, veteran journalist and author, with me on the show. Dr. Sumath Raman, sports commentator, joining me today. Welcome to both of you and thank you for speaking with us. We wish we were talking in very different circumstances. If India had won, there would be extreme excitement for, an India-Pak clash on Sunday, but that's not to be. What do you think went wrong? I'm going to start with Dr. Raman.
First of all, I think there were several weaknesses which were probably sort of papered over when we went into the World Cup. And I think some of us were cognizant of the fact that the bowling unit, how they would respond under pressure was always a bit of a question mark, especially in the absence of Jasprit Bumrah and also, of course, to a lesser extent, Ravindra Jadeja. I think the problem was at the top of the order. I mean, if you look at most of the teams that have done well in this tournament, particularly towards the latter part of the tournament, it's been that first power play where the openers have given them a good start. Even yesterday, you saw how Rizwan and Babar, by the way, have been struggling throughout this World Cup until the last couple of matches. And you see how at the right time, they were able to turn it on for Pakistan. Butler has had a good tournament so far, and Hales joined the party. And I think that, look, the point that Rohit Sharma made was very valid. This was not a situation where a team should have got 170 for no loss in 16 or 17 overs. That was had England been, say, 170 for 4 and they had got it in the 19th or 20th over, it really would not have been so disappointing. It would have at least been a contest. This was not a contest at all. After the first 3 overs,
sure.
Most people sort of felt that the writing was on the wall.
So at least we wanted a respectable defeat, if nothing else. And that perhaps was sorely lacking. Mr. Ramchand, the conversations right now and some of the things that Rahul Dravid has also talked about is the role of senior players in the team. What happens to them next? Do you think that this is the usual froth that you see after a big loss, or is there merit to some of these questions?
Well, I think I'll come to that later. First of all, I would rather give full credit to Hales and Butler. I mean, that kind of batting, the audacious stroke play took the wind out of the sail for the Indian bowlers. And after that, they just lost that sense of direction and pitched all over the place, hit all over the place. I would give, first of all, full credit. I mean, this is a match, it's a World Cup semi-final between the number 1 team and the number 2 team. The format is T20 and one team wins with 10 wickets to spare and 4 overs to spare. I mean, this is unreal. This is absolutely unreal. This doesn't happen. First of all, I'll give full credit to the English players and then start criticizing the Indian team, which, of course, I don't want to be too harsh. I mean, after all, they entered the semi-final. I don't know how many of us expected us to win the tournament. I didn't expect India to win this tournament anyway. So semi-final, well, I suppose it's par for the course. But now coming back to your point, I suppose in India, when such things happen, heads will start to roll. Questions will be asked from the coach, the captain, the management, and everybody. Heads will start to roll, yes. And there will be heads that will roll after this debate.
That question to Dr. Raman, do you think it's time for a review of the top order of the senior members of the team?
Look, I think the team invested a lot of faith. The team management invested a lot of faith in KL Rahul. And KL Rahul is an amazing cricketer, but unfortunately, he is not delivered. And I think it's time to give somebody else an opportunity at the top. Having said that, the captain himself is not on song as he usually is. So by his own standards, this has been a poor World Cup for Rohit Sharma. And so when you have two batsmen at the top who are actually struggling for runs, it puts enormous amount of pressure on Virat Kohli and Surya Kumar Yadav. I mean, you cannot, it is simply not fair to expect two people to carry a team on their heads throughout a tournament like the World Cup. It just does not happen. And you saw today, even though Virat had, did his part, of course, because once Surya got out cheaply, Hardik came to the party. But at the end of the day, the bowling simply did never. I mean, look, we won 4 out of the 5 matches. 2 of them were against Netherlands, Zimbabwe, and Bangladesh, for God's sake. The one big team that we defeated was Pakistan. The second big team we played against was South Africa, and we lost. So let's not, get overexcited saying we won 4 out of 5 games. It may be the case, but the point really was, and even that Bangladesh game was not exactly a crushing win at all. At one point of time, it looked that it was going to be very, very close. So I think that there has been a fundamental problem with the bowling, and that problem continues. The fact that we didn't have Bumrah, yes, it was a problem for us. But for instance, England did not have Mark Wood. They didn't have Johnny Bairstow. So, I mean, these things cannot be blamed. And I think that we were beaten fair and square. And also the fact that there have to be fairly sweeping changes. I can't honestly see KL Rahul continuing to open the bat. Look, what often happens in Indian cricket is they come back to the subcontinent and then everybody gets tons of runs in domestic conditions. And what happened in ICC tournaments gets forgotten. So, that is something which one hopes will not happen this time. And there are lots. In fact, by my assessment, only 4 players came out of the entire tournament looking good. Virat Kohli, Surya Kumar Yadav, Hardik Pandya, and to some extent, Arshdeep Singh. I don't think any of the others really came out covered in any kind of glory.
Another conversation point, and I'll take this first to Mr. Ramchand for his view, is now whether Indian cricket players need to start experiencing other conditions, be a part of, domestic leagues of other nations. And Rahul Dravid was very clear that he was not for that idea. Do you think that diversity is required?
I didn't get your question. Diversity, what diversity are you talking about?
As in, should Indian players now start playing in other domestic leagues?
Well, there's no point even discussing that. And then the BCCI said no, so they're not going to play. I mean, okay, whether they should play or not is a moot point, fair enough. But the BCCI has already laid the rule that they're not going to play in other domestic leagues. But it's a moot point. And as Suman said, maybe if you play outside, it'll be good. And it's a very valid point that Suman says. When you come back to India, the same players score a mountain of runs, take a bag full of wickets, and then this whole debacle is forgotten. I think it's a very valid point he made. And I hope that doesn't happen, because outside, and in particularly in ICC tournaments, we haven't won since the Champions Trophy in 2013. And we have been eliminated in the semi-finals thereafter in the World Cup or the Champions Trophy and so on and so forth in the T20 or 50-50 World Cup. So our performance outside India certainly leaves a lot to be desired.
What's next? Let's look forward. And of course, India has lost out. The better team won today. Dr. Raman, are you less excited about the finals? And who is your bet on now between England and Pakistan?
I expect it to be a competitive final, because for the simple reason, Pakistan's fast bowling attack is excellent. I mean, whatever one may say, they are among the best bowling attacks that you will see. And England's batting, I mean, today Butler was speaking about Adil Rashid batting at number 11. I mean, that means virtually the entire team bats or is capable of batting, at least in the T20 format. So it is a very, very interesting contest. The only real thing is that Pakistan are capable of beating the best on their day, and they are equally capable of collapsing in a heap on any given day. So a team as unpredictable as Pakistan, my edge, or my gut feel would be England would possibly have the edge, because they are more consistent. If Mark Wood is fit again and can return for the final, then certainly he's been in outstanding form through this World Cup. So if he is also back in the team, my gut feel is England would be a slight favourite, but only the most biased person who would rule out Pakistan from this contest. They've got, my gut feel is probably 60-40 in favour of England.
Okay, 60-40 in favour of England. That's not a huge push in favour of England. You know, an unpredictable win can happen. Your take on that, Mr. Ramchand?
Well, I don't normally stick my neck out where 2020 is concerned. You know how unpredictable the format is. So I don't normally like to stick my neck out. But on what I saw today, I think I would go with Sumath. I mean, yes, England has the edge because after what I saw today, it's totally an absolutely professional, methodical performance by England. And so it will be the flair of Pakistan and how mercurial they can be versus the methodical display of England. And I would rather give England the edge. I would go with Sumath on that.
And one last point. I mean, England, by the way, are playing without David Malan, who's been their number one T20 batsman for the past year and a half. And that is another, he was injured after a couple of matches and he's not featured in the last couple of games. So I think that without Mark Wood, without David Malan, this is an incredible performance from the England team.
All right. So one thing that does not change, of course, is the obsession and continued obsession that we have for cricket, and that will be seen once again on another day. For today, we have to be, just happy with the fact that we made it to the semi-finals. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.